The church bells echoed through Miami's humid air, sharp and insistent. Salt clung to the breeze, mingling with jasmine from a bride's bouquet. Elena stood radiant in white, her veil catching sunlight like a halo. Her groom, Daniel, smiled, his eyes locked on her with devotion. Guests filled the pews, their whispers buzzing like restless bees. Crystal chandeliers gleamed above, casting rainbows on marble floors. The priest's voice droned solemn, binding them in sacred vows. Elena's hands trembled, clutching Daniel's, her heart pounding. Outside, palm trees swayed, their fronds rustling in the wind. A black Rolls-Royce idled at the curb, its engine purring softly. Nobody noticed the car, sleek and ominous, waiting in shadows. Inside, a man watched, his fingers tapping a gold watch. His name was Victor Crane, a millionaire with secrets buried deep. His face was stone, but his eyes burned with purpose. Elena's vows faltered, her voice catching on the final words. The priest paused, sensing a shift in the air. Guests leaned forward, their murmurs fading to tense silence. A door slammed open, with crashing against stone walls. Victor strode in, his polished shoes clicking on the floor. Gasps rippled through the crowd, sharp and electric. Elena froze, her bouquet slipping from her hands. Daniel's smile vanished, replaced by a scowl of confusion. Victor's voice cut through, cold and commanding. "This wedding ends now," he said, pointing at Elena. The room spun for her, colors blurring into chaos. Her silk dress felt heavy, clinging to her sweating skin. "Who is this man?" Daniel demanded, stepping forward. Victor ignored him, his gaze fixed on Elena alone. "You cannot marry him," Victor said, his tone unyielding. Elena's breath hitched, her chest tight with dread. The scent of wax candles thickened, choking the air. Guests whispered, their voices a low, anxious hum. Victor's tailored suit gleamed under the chandelier's light. His hand extended, beckoning Elena with silent authority. She shook her head, her veil trembling with emotion. "I do not know you," she said, voice barely audible. Victor's lips curled, a smile both charming and sinister. "You will," he said, stepping closer, his shadow looming. Daniel grabbed Elena's arm, pulling her behind him. "Leave, or I call the police," Daniel warned. Victor laughed, a sound like glass shattering on stone. The organ's last note lingered, heavy and discordant. Elena's pulse raced, her skin prickling with unease. Something about Victor felt familiar, yet terrifyingly wrong. His eyes held a secret, dark and buried deep. The crowd parted as he advanced, their fear palpable. A woman in the pews dropped her purse, coins scattering. The noise echoed, sharp against the tense silence. Elena's mind raced, searching for answers she did not have. Victor stopped, his presence filling the room like smoke. "I know who you really are," he said to Elena. Her knees buckled, the words hitting like a blow. Daniel's grip tightened, his knuckles white with anger. "What do you want?" Daniel shouted, voice cracking. Victor's gaze never left Elena, intense and unblinking. "She belongs with me," he said, calm as death. The air grew thick, heavy with unspoken truths. Elena's heart pounded, each beat loud in her ears. The scent of old wood and incense overwhelmed her. Memories flickered, vague and unsettling in her mind. A childhood moment, a face she could not place. Victor's voice softened, almost tender, but laced with menace. "You cannot hide forever," he said, stepping closer. Elena's throat tightened, words trapped behind her fear. The crowd watched frozen, their breaths held in suspense. Daniel shoved Victor, his hands shaking with rage. "Stay away from her," Daniel yelled, voice echoing. Victor barely flinched, his composure unervingly calm. Two men appeared behind him, silent and imposing. Their suits were dark, their faces blank as stone. The guests gasped, some standing, others shrinking back. Elena's vision blurred, the room tilting around her. Victor's hand shot out, grabbing her wrist with force. His touch was cold, like metal against her skin. She screamed, the sound raw and desperate. Daniel lunged, but the men blocked him instantly. The crowd erupted, voices clashing in panic chaos. Elena struggled, her veil tearing against Victor's grip. The church's stained glass glowed, casting eerie shadows. Victor leaned close, his breath hot on her ear. "I know your past," he whispered, voice like venom. Her stomach churned, nausea rising with his words. What did he know? Why did this feel real? The men dragged her toward the open door. Daniel fought, his shouts drowned by the crowd's clamor. The Rolls-Royce waited outside, its engine roaring now. Elena's heels scraped the floor, resisting every step. The air outside hit her, salty and suffocatingly warm. Seagulls cried overhead, their calls sharp and mournful. Victor's grip tightened, his fingers bruising her skin. "You will understand soon," he said, voice low. The car door opened, its interior dark as a void. Elena's heart screamed, but her voice was gone. Daniel's cries faded, muffled by the church walls. The crowd spilled out, their faces pale with shock. Victor pushed her into the car, the leather cold. The door slammed shut, locking with a click. Her breath came in gasps, shallow and frantic. The engine growled, tires screeching on asphalt. Miami's skyline blurred past, neon lights bleeding together. Elena's hands shook, clawing at the locked door. Victor sat beside her, his presence suffocatingly close. His cologne was sharp, cedar mixed with danger. "Where are you taking me?" she finally asked. Her voice trembled, barely above a whisper. Victor turned, his eyes glinting with dark intent. "To the truth," he said, his words chilling. The car sped through the city, weaving through traffic. Horns blared outside, a chaotic symphony of sound. Elena's mind spun, grasping at fleeting memories. A name, a place, a secret she buried long ago. Her fingers brushed the torn veil, soft and ruined. The city's pulse throbbed, alive but indifferent. Victor's silence was worse than his words. It carried weight, heavy with unspoken threats. Elena's chest ached, fear coiling like a snake. The car turned, leaving the city lights behind. Mangroves loomed ahead, their roots twisting in shadows. The air grew thick, damp with earthy decay. Her heart raced, each beat a plea for escape. What did Victor know? What truth awaited her? The car slowed, gravel crunching under its tires. A mansion emerged, its gates tall and iron. Vines clung to the walls, wild and overgrown. Elena's breath caught, her body tensing instinctively. Victor's smile returned, cold and knowing. "Welcome home," he said, voice dripping with menace. The gates creaked open, swallowing the car whole. Elena's world shrank to the darkness inside. Her past was catching up, relentless and cruel. The truth, whatever it was, would break her. Xi artifact and asteroid equals 464655793684 title equals A Millionaire Stops a Wedding to Kidnap the Bride. Part 2 content Bealden. The mansion's iron gates groaned shut, sealing Elena inside. Darkness swallowed the car, mangroves clawing at the windows. The air was heavy, thick with moss and salt. Elena's heart thudded, each beat echoing in her chest. Victor's silence filled the space, cold and oppressive. The Rolls-Royce stopped, its engine dying with a sigh. Gravel crunched underfoot as Victor stepped out. Elena's hands shook, fumbling with the locked door. The leather seat stuck to her skin, clammy and cold. Victor opened her door, his shadow looming large. "Get out," he said, voice sharp as a blade. Elena's legs trembled, her torn veil trailing behind. The mansion loomed ahead, its windows dark and hollow. Crickets chirped, their song jagged in the night. A faint smell of decay lingered, earthy and sour. Victor's hand gripped her arm, guiding her forward. Her heels sank into the soft, uneven ground. The air felt alive, buzzing with unseen eyes. Stone steps led to a door carved and ancient. It creaked open, revealing a dimly lit hall. Chandeliers flickered, casting shadows that danced on walls. Elena's breath caught, the air thick with dust. Portraits lined the walls, their eyes following her. Each face was stern, painted in faded oils. Victor's grip tightened, his fingers bruising her skin. "This is your truth," he said, voice low. Elena's stomach churned, dread pulling inside her. The hall stretched on, endless and suffocating. Marble floors echoed her steps, cold underfoot. A distant clock ticked, its rhythm unervingly slow. Victor led her to a heavy wooden door. He pushed it open, revealing a study within. Bookshelves towered, their spines worn and dusty. A fire crackled in the hearth, spitting embers. The smell of smoke mingled with old leather. Elena's eyes darted, searching for an escape. Victor released her, his smile thin and cruel. "Sit," he said, pointing to a velvet chair. Elena hesitated, her body tense with fear. The chair's fabric was soft, but cold as ice. She sat, her hands twisting in her lap. Victor paced, his shoes clicking on the floor. "You forgot everything," he said, voice accusing. Elena's mind raced, grasping at fractured memories. A child's laughter, a house by the sea. The images flickered, then vanished like smoke. Victor stopped, his eyes piercing through her. "You were mine once," he said, voice soft. Elena's throat tightened, his words chilling her bones. She shook her head, confusion clouding her thoughts. "I do not know you," she whispered. Victor's laugh was sharp, slicing through the air. The fire popped, its heat failing to warm her. He reached for a drawer, pulling it open slowly. Inside was a photograph, yellowed and creased. He held it up, his fingers steady and deliberate. Elena's breath stopped, her eyes locked on it. The photo showed a girl, young and smiling. Her face was familiar, hauntingly so. It was her, but from a time forgotten. Victor's voice dropped, heavy with meaning. "You were Elena Marquez, my sister's friend." The room spun, the walls closing in tight. Elena's hands gripped the chair, knuckles white. The fire's glow cast Victor's face in shadow. "Sister?" Elena asked, her voice barely audible. Victor nodded, his eyes glinting with secrets. "Clara," he said, the name like a blade. Elena's mind sparked, a memory stirring faintly. Clara's face, her laugh, a summer long gone. The study's air grew heavier, thick with tension. Victor set the photo down, his movements slow. "Clara disappeared," he said, voice flat. Elena's heart raced, fear clawing at her chest. The clock's ticking grew louder, almost deafening. "You were there," Victor said, stepping closer. Elena's skin prickled, his words sinking deep. "I was a child," she said, voice shaking. Victor's eyes narrowed, searching her for lies. "You know more than you admit," he said. The fire's heat felt distant, her body cold. Outside, wind howled, rattling the mansion's windows. Elena's thoughts spiraled, memories slipping away. A beach, a scream, waves crashing on rocks. Her hands shook, the veil tangling in her fingers. Victor knelt, his face level with hers. His breath was warm, scented with mint and malice. "Clara trusted you," he said, voice accusing. Elena's chest tightened, guilt she did not understand rising. "I do not remember," she said, desperate. Victor stood, his shadow swallowing the light. "You will," he said, turning to the door. Footsteps echoed, heavy and deliberate, approaching fast. The door opened, revealing one of Victor's men. His face was blank, his suit crisp and dark. "Sir, we found something," the man said. Victor's head tilted, his interest sharp and sudden. Elena's pulse surged, her body tensing instinctively. The man held a box, small and rusted. Its surface was scratched, etched with faded initials. Elena's eyes widened, recognition sparking faintly. She knew that box, but from where? Victor took it, his fingers tracing the edges. The room felt smaller, the air hard to breathe. He opened it, revealing a locket inside. The locket was silver, tarnished but intricate. Elena's heart stopped, her breath shallow and quick. She had seen it before, around Clara's neck. Victor's eyes met hers, cold and knowing. "You recognize it," he said, not a question. Elena's mouth went dry, words failing her. The fire crackled, its light glinting off the locket. Memories surged, fragmented and sharp as glass. A girl's voice, a promise, a secret buried. Victor closed the box, the sound echoing. "We are not done," he said, voice final. Elena's hands trembled, her mind a storm of fear. The man at the door watched, his gaze unyielding. Victor gestured, and the man stepped closer. "Take her to the room," Victor ordered. Elena's stomach dropped, her body frozen in place. The man grabbed her arm, his grip like iron. She stumbled, her heels catching on the rug. The study's warmth faded, replaced by cold dread. A hallway stretched ahead, dark and endless. Doors lined the walls, each one locked tight. The air smelled of mildew, damp and oppressive. Elena's heart pounded, each step heavy with fear. The man stopped at the door, old and warped. He unlocked it, the key scraping in the silence. Inside was a room, small and sparsely furnished. A single window was barred, moonlight barely seeping through. The bed was narrow, its sheets crisp and white. Elena's skin crawled, the room feeling like a cage. The man pushed her inside, the door slamming shut. The lock clicked, its sound final and cold. She was alone, the silence deafeningly loud. Her hands brushed the walls, rough and peeling. The air was stale, heavy with forgotten years. Elena sank to the floor, her dress pooling around her. Her mind raced, piecing together broken memories. Clara's locket, the box, Victor's accusing eyes. What had she done? What did she know? The mansion creaked, its secrets whispering in the dark. Elena's breath hitched, fear tightening its grip. Something was coming, something she could not escape. /Z artifact. The room's silence pressed against Elena, heavy and suffocating. Moonlight seeped through the barred window, casting jagged shadows. The air smelled of mildew, damp and clawing. Her dress clung to her skin, torn and heavy. Elena's fingers traced the rough wall, seeking answers. Clara's locket haunted her, its image burned in her mind. A faint hum vibrated to the floor, unnatural and low. Her heart raced, each beat loud in her ears. The mansion groaned, its was settling like whispers. She stood, her legs unsteady on the cold floor. A distant thud echoed, sharp and deliberate. Elena froze, her breath catching in her throat. Footsteps approached, slow and heavy, down the hall. The door's lock clicked, the sound piercing the quiet. Light spilled in, harsh and blinding, from the hallway. Victor stood there, his silhouette tall and menacing. His eyes glinted, cold as the ocean at night. "You cannot run from this," he said, voice steady. Elena's chest tightened, fear coiling like a snake. He stepped inside, holding a leather-bound journal. Its cover was worn, edges frayed and stained. The air grew thicker, heavy with unspoken truths. Victor's cologne wafted, sharp with cedar and smoke. He set the journal on the bed, deliberate and slow. "Read it," he said, his tone commanding. Elena's hand shook, reaching for the book. Its leather was cold, smooth under her fingers. She opened it, pages yellowed and brittle. Handwritten words sprawled across them, jagged and urgent. Clara's name appeared, scrawled in blue ink. Elena's stomach dropped, her pulse hammering wildly. The floor creaked under Victor's weight as he paced. "Clara wrote this," he said, voice low and accusing. Elena's eyes scanned the page, words blurring together. A memory flashed, vivid and sharp as glass. Clara on the beach, her laughter bright and free. The journal spoke of secrets, shared under starlight. Elena's breath hitched, the words pulling her under. "We made a promise," the journal read, chillingly clear. Her fingers trembled, turning the fragile page. Clara's words described a night, dark and stormy. A boat, a plan, a secret too dangerous. Elena's mind reeled, memories crashing like waves. Victor stopped pacing, his shadow swallowing the light. "You were there," he said, voice cutting deep. Elena's throat closed, her voice lost of fear. The room spun, walls tilting in the gloom. "I do not remember," she whispered, desperate. Victor's laugh was cold, echoing off stone walls. The journal slipped, falling to the floor, its pages splayed open, revealing a sketch inside. A girl's face, drawn with care, unmistakably Elena. Her heart stopped, the sketch searing her mind. Clara had drawn her, Years ago, by the sea. Victor knelt, picking up the journal slowly. You betrayed her, he said, eyes burning. Elena's body shook, her mind a storm of fragments. The air felt heavy, thick with salt and dread. A scream echoed in her memory, raw and distant. Clara's voice, calling her name in panic. Elena stumbled back, the bed frame cold against her. Victor stepped closer, his presence suffocatingly near. You left her, he said, voice dripping venom. Elena's eyes widened, the accusation hitting hard. The window rattled, wind howling through the mangroves. Her hands clutched the dress, fabric tearing further. I was a child, she said, voice breaking. Victor's face twisted, anger flashing like lightning. He threw the journal at her feet, pages fluttering. Read the last page, he ordered, voice sharp. Elena's fingers fumbled, finding the final entry. Clara's words were frantic, ink smudged with tears. They are coming for us, the page read. Elena's breath stopped, her body frozen in place. The journal described a night, a boat, a betrayal. Her name was there, circled in red ink. Victor's eyes bored into her, relentless and cold. You knew, he said, stepping even closer. Elena's mind screamed, memories clawing to surface. A stormy night, waves crashing, Clara's hand slipping. She shook her head, tears stinging her eyes. I did not mean to, she whispered. Victor's hand shot out, grabbing her wrist hard. His touch was ice, burning her skin. You left her to die, he said, voice low. Elena's knees buckled, the room spinning wildly. The journal's words echoed, accusing and relentless. Clara's voice screamed in her mind, louder now. The mansion's walls seemed to pulse, alive with secrets. Elena yanked her wrist free, stumbling backward. Her heel caught, sending her crashing to the floor. The wood was rough, splinters biting her palms. Victor loomed above, his shadow swallowing her whole. You cannot escape the truth, he said calm. Elena's heart raced, her breath shallow and quick. She scrambled up, her dress catching on the floor. The window's bars taunted, freedom just beyond reach. Footsteps echoed again, urgent and heavy, outside. The door burst open, the same man from before. His face was pale, sweat beading on his brow. Sir, someone's here, he said, voice tense. Victor's head snapped up, his eyes narrowing. Elena's pulse surged, hope flickering faintly. The man glanced at her, his expression unreadable. Daniel, he said, the name hanging heavy. Elena's heart leaped, her breath catching sharply. Daniel was here, somewhere in the mansion. Victor's face darkened, his jaw tightening visibly. Deal with him, he ordered, voice like steel. The man nodded, disappearing into the hall. Elena's mind raced, searching for a plan. The journal lay open, Clara sketched staring up. Her hands shook, grabbing the book instinctively. Victor turned, his eyes locking on her again. You stay here, he said, voice cold as stone. He strode out, the door slamming shut behind. The lock clicked, its sound final and heavy. Elena clutched the journal, her fingers trembling. The room's air was thick, choking her lungs. Outside, a shout echoed, sharp and distant. Daniel's voice, angry, cut through the night. Elena's heart pounded, hope and fear colliding. She rushed to the window, bars cold against her hands. The mangroves swayed, their shadows twisting wildly. A car's engine roared, tires screeching on gravel. Elena's breath fogged the glass, her eyes searching. Lights flashed outside, red and blue, faint but real. Her chest tightened, hope surging through her. Police? Daniel? Someone to save her? The journal slipped, hitting the floor with a thud. Clara's words screamed in her mind, relentless. A promise broken, a secret buried at sea. Elena's fingers clawed at the bars, desperate. The metal was cold, unyielding under her grip. Voices grew louder, chaotic, outside the mansion. A gunshot rang out, sharp and deafening. Elena screamed, her voice raw and frantic. The room shook, or maybe it was her. Her legs gave out, the floor cold beneath her. Clara's face flashed, accusing in her mind. What had she done? What truth was coming? The mansion's walls whispered, secrets clawing free. The gunshots' echo lingered, sharp in the humid air. Elena's scream caught in her throat, raw and silent. The room's walls pulsed, closing in like a trap. Her hands gripped the journal, Clara's sketch staring up. Outside, shouts multiplied, chaotic and urgent. Sirens wailed, their pitch slicing through the night. The mangroves rustled, wind hissing through twisted branches. Elena's heart pounded, hope warring with dread. The barred window taunted, moonlight flickering beyond. Her fingers clawed at the bars, cold and unyielding. The journal's weight felt heavy, alive with secrets. Clara's words burned in her mind, accusing. A promise broken, a night lost to waves. Footsteps thundered outside, heavy and relentless. The door rattled, its lock scraping loudly. Elena froze, her breath shallow and quick. The air smelled of damp wood and fear. The door burst open, hinges groaning in protest. Daniel stood there, blood streaking his face. His shirt was torn, eyes wild with desperation. "Elena, we must go," he said, voice hoarse. Her legs trembled, relief flooding her body. She stumbled forward, the journal slipping free. Daniel grabbed her hand, his grip warm but urgent. The hallway stretched ahead, dark and endless. Walls loomed, their paint peeling like dead skin. The air was thick, heavy with mildew and salt. Sirens grew louder, red lights flashing through windows. Elena's dress dragged, catching on splintered wood. Daniel pulled her forward, his breath ragged. "Victor's men are everywhere," he whispered, tense. Her heart raced, each step heavy with fear. A shadow moved ahead, swift and silent. Daniel stopped, pushing Elena behind him. The figure emerged, Victor's man, gun in hand. His face was blank, eyes cold as stone. "Stop," he said, voice flat and commanding. Elena's chest tightened, her pulse hammering wildly. Daniel's hand squeezed hers, a silent promise. The man raised his gun, finger on the trigger. A second gunshot rang out, deafening and close. The man collapsed, blood pooling on the floor. Elena gasped, her body shaking uncontrollably. Another figure stepped forward, cloaked in shadow. The air grew colder, the scent of gunpowder sharp. The stranger lowered their gun, face obscured. "Follow me," they said, voice low and urgent. Elena's mind spun, questions clawing at her. Daniel hesitated, his grip tightening on her hand. The stranger moved, beckoning them into the dark. The mansion's walls groaned, secrets whispering within. Elena's shoes slipped on the blood-slick floor. Her stomach churned, nausea rising like a tide. The stranger led them down a narrow staircase. Stone steps were slick, dammed with unseen water. The air grew heavier, thick with earth and rot. A faint drip echoed, steady and haunting. Elena's heart pounded, each beat a frantic plea. The staircase ended, opening to a basement. Crates lined the walls, dusty and forgotten. The smell of mold was overwhelming, choking her. A single bulb flickered, casting jagged shadows. The stranger turned, their face finally visible. A woman, her features sharp and eerily familiar. Elena's breath stopped, recognition sparking like lightning. Clara's eyes stared back, older but unmistakable. Her hair was cropped, face lined with years. "You," Elena whispered, her voice barely audible. Clara's lips twitched, a smile both sad and bitter. "I never died," she said, voice steady. Elena's knees buckled, the world tilting wildly. Daniel's arm caught her, his face pale with shock. The journal's words screamed, truth crashing down. Clara stepped closer, her boot scuffing the floor. "You left me," she said, eyes burning. Elena's mind reeled, memories flooding like a storm. The boat, the waves, Clara's hand slipping away. "I thought you drowned," Elena said, trembling. Clara's laugh was sharp, cutting through the air. "Victor saved me," she said, voice cold. Elena's heart sank, the truth twisting inside her. The basement's walls seemed to pulse, alive. Clara's gaze shifted, landing on the journal. "You kept it," she said, voice softening slightly. Elena's hands shook, the journal's weight unbearable. I forgot everything, she said, voice breaking. Clara's eyes darkened, pain flashing across her face. We swore to protect each other, she said. The bulb flickered, shadows dancing like ghosts. Daniel's voice broke through, tense and urgent. We need to leave now, he said, glancing back. Footsteps echoed above, heavy and closing in. Clara nodded, her expression hardening once more. This way, she said, moving toward tunnel. The passage was narrow, walls slick with slime. Elena's dress snagged, tearing on jagged stone. The air was damp, thick with decay and salt. Her lungs burned, each breath sharp and painful. Clara led, her steps sure in the dark. A distant shout echoed, Victor's voice commanding. Elena's heart raced, fear clawing at her chest. The tunnel curved, opening to a hidden dock. A boat bobbed there, its hull creaking softly. Waves lapped against wood, steady and rhythmic. The night air was cool, salted with ocean spray. Clara climbed aboard, motioning them to follow. Elena hesitated, her mind a storm of questions. Daniel pushed her forward, his hand steady. The boat rocked, water sloshing against its sides. Clara's hands moved, starting the engine quickly. It roared to life, loud in the quiet night. Elena's eyes darted, searching the shadows for Victor. The mansion loomed behind, its lights flickering faintly. Clara steered, the boat cutting through dark water. Mangroves framed the horizon, their roots like claws. Elena's fingers gripped the rail, cold and wet. Why now? She asked, voice trembling. Clara's eyes met hers, fierce and unyielding. Victor lied to me too, she said. Elena's breath caught, the words sinking deep. The boat surged forward, waves crashing around them. Daniel's hand rested on her shoulder, grounding her. Clara's voice rose, sharp over the engine's roar. He used us both, she said, jaw tight. Elena's mind spun, Victor's secrets unraveling fast. The journal's pages flashed, Clara's words accusing. A promise, a betrayal, a truth half buried. The ocean stretched endless, dark and unforgiving. Clara's face hardened, her hands steady on the wheel. He wanted you broken, she said, voice low. Elena's heart pounded, questions burning her throat. Why her? What had Victor planned? The boat slowed, approaching a hidden cove. Mangroves closed in their scent earthy and thick. Clara cut the engine, silence rushing in. The water lapped gently, a deceptive calm. Elena's skin prickled, the air heavy with dread. Clara turned, her eyes searching Elena's face. You were never innocent, she said, voice cold. Elena's stomach dropped, the words like a blade. The journal's truth loomed heavy and undeniable. Clara reached into her pocket, pulling something out. A key, small and rusted, glinted in her hand. It unlocks more than you know, she said. Elena's breath hitched, her mind racing wildly. The cove shadows deepened, hiding new secrets. What had she done? What was still coming?